There's a very interesting thing that I want to talk about last thing. We didn't have enough time. Two things. First of all, a short thing. If you open up, you have Nach over there. I didn't bring one there. No, it's not. It's a different handout. You have Nach over there.
Yeah.
In Pasuk Lamed, L'chein Yom Hashem Elokei Yisrael Amar Ma'atu Beischa Beischa Yisrael L'panei Ador. No, I'm sorry, wrong Pasuk. There's a different one. 1 second.
We're only up to
I know. I confused myself. 1 second. Vatidor. I want to talk about Vatidor, the nether that she made. Vatidor neder, Pasuk Yud Aleph, I'm sorry. Vatidor neder, Vatoimer. Here, it's a very interesting radak on this Pasuk. Here, I want to take this. Take this. Everybody take this because I want to emphasize a little bit. What?
I think the radak, everyone has a radak.
What? You have the radak also. So listen to this lashon radak. It's so unusual to find such a thing. Sometimes you have Tosus ask a kasha on the Gemara. Here the Radak asks a kasha on the Pasuk without an answer. When he's tame, I'm thinking I never came across such something whenever in Tanakh. Listen to this. Vatido neder. First of all, let's say the Pasuk. Vatido neder. Vatoimar. Hashem tzavois imroyer tira ba'oni amasech. Zatani l'shichas amasech. Zatla amaschazer v'noshim. Unisativ l'Hashem kol yemei chayav. Omoira lo yale al roisha. Now, before we even go into this Radak, I'm going to talk about this later also. There's a mission that says that Shmuel was a Nazir. Shmuel was a Nazir, and what it says, Moira Layal Al Roshoi, this means that the Mishuf Sheh and the Hur. What? Exactly the same. That's very interesting you're saying right now. And I'm going to talk about that also. Shmuel says Moira Layal Al Roshoi. What does the word Moira mean?
Razor.
Who said so? Who said so?
Sigurd Alma.
Was? In the Haftarah of Machai, she says Moira Chitzim. You have Ben Soyer Moira, right? It's exactly the same spelling. Mem Vav Reish Hey. The only thing is that it has to. How do you know that Moira Leal Reish? Right? By Manoich it says Moira Leal Reish, but it also says another time it says Moira when. The story of Shimshon, when Delilah finally got him to say that she tried to, if you know the story, she tried to get him to say, "What is your weakness? What is your weakness?" But finally, she got him in a weak moment, and he gave out his secret, and that was his end. Because then she got to see. Listen to what it says. It said, "Vayagid lo." He told Eskoli boy. He told Delilah, "Vayom lemoira leola al roishi." So you see that Moira means Giluach. In the Torah, it only says B'sar Lo Yav Al Roshei. So apparently, this word Moira has many, many different meanings. Moira also means to teach, right? It means to Lohairo. It's a guide. A guide, right? A Moira Derech it's a very interesting word. It has many, many different meanings. But anyway, Kitzur Ma'asim, what I want to just bring out that that Shmuel was apparently a Nazir. So now comes the Radak, fascinating Radak. Listen to this lashon; it's unbelievable. But Anitoma eich chal nidra al bena shehi a Nazir v'oid shloi hoya ba'olam. Notice number one. Number two, how can you make a neder on something shloi ba'olam? Not this is before just asking to get a child. I mean, it wasn't even it's a gunish gewein. Gunish. If I'm going to have a child, then it's going to be ve'ech chal haneder olav v'afilu hoya ba'olam. Let's say he was already ba'olam. Harei amru. It's a Mishnah in Nazir. It says, so ish madir es benoi Nazir ve'ein ho isha maderes es benoi ben Nazir. How could she do it? Afilu beish lo yimotzu b'tam el omru halachi b'nazir. There's no. How do you know that even the ish can do it? So Chachamim, we don't know from the Torah, but we have a Kabbalah, Malach Moshe Sinai of some kind that the Chachamim said that a father could make a son a nazir.
I would have understood that the way it works is not that it's be'etzim chal automatically. It's that she's promising it's on her that she is going to do whatever she can so that he becomes a nuzir.
No, that's more than that.
That it was actually
a
chal.
neder is a very strong thing. Okay, so let me finish the lashon. I mean, you were saying it's a teretz maybe.
Yeah.
So, but ve'im toimar ki elkona asa neder gam kein achi shama mishtoi zel lo yirein. We don't see in the pasuk that he should make a neder. Ve'echi niach hapasuk lispor ikar haneder because of neder chanash ein a neder zerochak v'yoisani tomia eich like dibru razal b'zeh hadover. Nobody in Gans Shas talks about this. Ki lo mitzasi b'devrei b'zeh shum davar lo b'medrash lo b'talmud. It's a very, very powerful question that the Radak is asking, and he doesn't have an answer.
The Nach is a Rishon, Rabbi David Kimchi.
Yeah, it's Rishon, and it's a very powerful, very unusual. You never find such a thing. A kash on a pasuk.
I think he's saying the Lucian neighbor means neighbor. What is he saying?
Right.
Meaning it's not like Lafika that.
She's making a neder on herself.
Saying she's making a neighbor on herself.
In other words, she's making. But Tida, she's making a neder. Okay, maybe the Lucian neder doesn't pass so much on yourself. That's more like a difference between a lie carbon or a Z carbon, right? And neder
It's on something. It's on a something. This is a good look. It's a very powerful radak, and it's a very difficult thing.
But you know what? I think my teretz is right, because if you look at the Lucian Apusik, what does she say? She doesn't say he will be. She says, I will give him. In a sativ la Hashem. I will give him then.
That's another. That's what it says.
On herself, she's making a promise that if this happens, if X happens, I'll do Y.
It could be. I don't know. But I'm going to come back to this in a minute. But there are answers to this. I just want to. I want to go to the very last Mishnah in Masechtas Nazir. The very last Mishnah in Masechtas Nazir. If you ever buy a siyum of Masechtas Nazir, there's a Mishnah. There's a few lines of Gemara, and that's a siyum. So this is the Mishnah over here. I have it over here. You all have the handouts over here. Nazir hoya Shmuel, kidivrei Rab Neroi, shenemar umoira layal al roishai, nemar b'shimshin umoira v'nemar b'shmuel umoira. This is making gzera shav the two umoiras. We just talked about that before. Ma moira hu amura b'shimshin nazir, moira hu amura b'shmuel nazir, that he was a nazir. Rab Yosi, v'aloi ein moira el shel basav adam. It's a different type of thing. It's Amalei Rab Neroi, V'aloi Kvar Nemar, V'yoyim Shmuel Eich Elech V'sham Ashol V'yarguni, Shekvar Hoya Olav Moira Shal Basar V'adam. He had already the fear of Basar V'adam. Now, listen to this carefully. Watch this word. What's the word Moira mean? Look at the second Moira. It's with an olive. Exactly. The Marshal points this out. It's a Moira. Moira. What is the word Moira? What does the word Moira mean with an olive? What? Fear. Right. This is interesting. Moira Godel is a Gilish China, right? The true word, if you take a look, it says, Moira Godel Oisos of Moifsim, it says there, right? Targum says in this, Moira Godel, and Rashi also in another place says, Moira means maros, a vision. What is it? Because how do you say Moira Godel Oisos Moifsim? Then right after it says, Ato Reis Ladaski Hashem Olekim, right? That you were shown. Zu Gilishkin. Gilishkin is not something that is fright. It's Gilishkin is something you see. The Yidden saw Gilishkin by Tzis Mitzrayim. So the real word Moira means not so much fear as it means a vision with an aleph. But it's interesting how this became a Yiddish word. In German, Yiddish is really German words, right? What's the word for fear in German? Furcht, right? But somehow, because of that, we are so familiar with the Aguda, we have this notion that it means fear, that it became a Yiddish word, Moira zu haben, right? But it really doesn't mean that. It means great visions. Apparently, this is some sort of mistake in the Girsa. This should have been Moira, and Moira means Mlashon of Morris, of mastery. That's why That's why he says over here, Eich Elek Mishom Hashol Varaguni Shekvar Hel Moira Shabasadam. He had the Morris of Shol was the Melech. He had the, and it says Moira Le'al Rashi means is fair. Now it's the Santa Zach is that the Targum. Look at you have over here the Targum. What's the word of Moira? What does Targum say on Moira?
Mirvas.
What?
Marvas.
Marvas means Morris, right? That's what it says over here. But in Interessant, if you go to Shimshon, the story of Shimshon, it says Umispar lo yavra al reishei. So in other words, Interessant that the Targum, the same Targum Yosef and Azil, by Shimshon, he says Moira means misbar, scissors, and over here he says Morris. I guess because the Targum is trying to say that we pass like Rabbi Yossi, not like Rabbi Neroi. It's not, no, but it's interesting that Targum usually is very, very careful to be consistent. Over here it's being not consistent, and there must be a very, very strong reason for it. Interessant also on this Gemara, the Gemara for this Mishnah that seems to have nothing to do at all with the Mishnah. It says Chatoifu Berich. And it talks about the Indian of Ha'oina, Godla Ha'oina Yoser Min HaMavarach. That seems to hold the whole thing, which has nothing to do with the Mishnah at all. Very strange thing. Let everybody Mepharshim talk about it. But there's another kasha that comes up over here. The kasha is like this, and this is Noida B'Yehud is the first one that asked it, but a lot of other people came along also and asked it. If Shmuel was Taka and Nazir, how was he allowed to kill Agag Melech Amalek? And Nazir is now become a Tama, right? So how can he go and kill him? Good kasha.
Nobody is allowed to be over anything up to Tzivi Hashem.
Did Abed tell
even 2 out of the 3 Chaviras.
The Rebbeinu Shalom didn't tell Shmuel. Told Shmuel, go tell Shaul he should kill Amalek. And then Shmuel himself goes and he kills Agag, right? So there's a few terutzim over here that is. The one teretz is the Teretz Yisrael gives, and it says because it doesn't say that he killed him. It says by Yeshasef. It's a very interesting. This word by Yeshasef Shaul es Agag lifnei Hashem. This word by Yeshasef does not appear anywhere in the whole Tanakh. It's a yichidoi. It's an unusual word. Shin samach pei is the shirish. What does it mean? So. If he wanted to kill him, it should say Vayaharog, whatever, but it's in Vayishasef. So he says over here, the Teretz Yisrael, that it could be Vayishasef means he made him into a goisis. He stabbed him a few times, didn't kill him, so it's just so that he should be able to he should die by himself. So he dies by himself, he doesn't become Tameh.
In today's Hebrew, it means like slaughterman. Like
Shesef.
Shesef means slaughter.
Okay, but the modern Hebrew is based on words on that this guy Eliezer ben Yehuda decided that that's going to be the words, modern words. It's not a. There's another teretz also that is a Medrash Shoichatov, a very interesting Medrash Shoichatov, which is a very stirring story. What? In Tehillim, right? It says over here that Yeshasef means that he cut off little pieces he tortured him to death for Agag. He cut off little pieces of his flesh. Each one was less than a kazayis. He shouldn't become tamei from Avram and Achai. And he gave it to eat to a yana, to an ostrich. It's a very strange medrash, but that's what the medrash says. Comes along Rabbi Shapiro, and I think he gives the best teretz of all to this kasha. It was a very good kasha. Rabbi Shapiro, the Leviner Rosh Hashiva, said like this. He says, "How do we know? We just learned the Mishnah according to Rabbi Neroi that he was a Nazir oil. How do we know? Because the Gezer Shava from Shimshon. When you say that, when you're Mata Neder, you say, I'll feel like Naziris Shimshon. What is Naziris Shimshon? The Gemara says in another place that Shimshon's Naziris was such that he was allowed to be Matamal Mason. Just had to let his hair grow long, and there's no karbanis either. Normally, Nazir has to bring karbanis. No karbanis. But how do we know? Because he killed a lot of people. Shimshon. He killed thousands and thousands of Plishtim, and he couldn't have done it without being Tameh. So this is a special kind of Naziris called Nazir Shimshon. And since you're learning it out from Shimshon, so the same kind of Nazir is the Meir Shapiro the birth. So there he was allowed to be Mutama to Agag, right? And he also, I saw another teretz, going back to Radak, that where does it say over here? Okay, listen to this. He says that later on, when she told Elkanah what she when Vayomer Elkanah Isha, Asi hatoy beinayich, do whatever you said. Shvi ad gom mechoseach yokem Hashem's devorah vateshev Isha vatenik es b'na ad gom leisei. After she was born, Elkanah told her Asi hatoy beinayich. So he wanted to say that Asi hatoy beinayich means he's sort of saying amen to what she made her neder, and with that you for the Orthodox kasha, because then the father's biggest one is making him into a nazir. And it's a davar shabal olam, right? Since it's a davar shabal olam, so it's it benefits. And this also for emphasizes the connection to the Gemara over here. Remember we said that the Gemara talks about the oina is yosem min amavarich, and what does it have to do with the Mishnah? Now it's very very for emphasized. Of course, it has to do with the Mishnah, because when you see that he said oina, he was the oina, the yosem min amavarich. You see that the oina has a tremendous koyach. So this Elkanah, by agreeing to what Chana did, what Chana said, became more like and it was and became. Also, I once heard a shot on this Mishnah. It's very interesting. Nazir Hoye Shmuel Kedivrei Rabbi Noroi. According to the Rabbi Noroi, it's very unusual. You should have said Rabbi Noroi Omer. What is it? Kedivrei Rabbi Noroi. The Gemara says in one place that Rabbi Noroi is Rabbi Meir. It's machlekes really, but there's one man the Yomer that Rabbi Neroi is Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir holds that everybody knows that a person could be maknat over shlei bal oilam. So become mashma bal oilam. So according to that, everything, the whole nether business works out very nicely. So it's a little bit interesting to that.
Meir is light and the Nahira is light.
What?
Meir means light.
Yeah.
And the Nahira is light.
You're right. Of course, that's the Gemara. Some Zacherim Omer is Rabbi Meir, and some Rabbi Neroi Omer is Rabbi Meir. It's a whole discussion. You never find anywhere a machlek between Rabbi Neroi and Rabbi Meir, because according to Rabbi Yom, it's the same person. It's not. Anyway, interessante Sachen. Yeah, one more thing. In Pasuk Chav Beis, it says over here, "V'yoshav sham ad olam." You see Pasuk Chav Beis, "V'yoshav sham ad olam," and the Rashi says, "Olamam shel Levim, chamishim shana, shenemar v'miben chamishim shana yoshuv mitzvah ha'avoda." An olam by a Levi is 50 years, and since he was 2 years old when she brought him to Mishkan Shiloi, comes out, and Rashi says later that the lifetime of Shmuel was 52 years. He lived 52 years. There's a minig by many people that when you give a name for a grandfather or a great grandfather, and by that Sfardim when he's alive. But those that by Ashkenazim we don't give it to somebody that's alive. You give it if only somebody that's nostalgic already. If the person was nostalgic aleinu when they were young, there's an inyan not to give a name after such a person. But it's brought down as Sfarim in many places already that if the person lived exactly 52 years, then you give a name after him. I think that the Herzig originally lived 52 years also. It's because Shmuel lived 52 years. So there's no chash at all of giving a name after such a person. And you would learn this out from this ad oilam. Anyway, let's go on weiter. We left off last time by the end of the period, right? But now we're up to the Tfilas Chana. Now, this Tfilas Chana is very, very interesting because it doesn't sound like a tefillah at all. It sounds almost like a way of saying thank you and talking about the greatness of the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're used to the word tefillah as asking for something. It says that by Avimelech, Vispal Badcha Bechiyeh, right? That he should be mispal, mean to add, to beseech, to ask for something. But Spal Chana, Batoimer, all that's I'm not going to dwell on this because essentially a lot of the words that we're going to see over here is repeated in Tillim, the Sefer Tillim. but there's an idea that runs through this whole thing. The idea is essentially that the Rebbeinu Shalom flips things around. He's mashbel game, magbiya shvolim. That's the theme of the whole Tfilas Chana. Now watch this. Except for one or two psukim, which is Batomer, Ola Tzlevi B'Hashem, Rom Kani B'Hashem, my Rochav Pi Al Oivai. Who's her enemies? L'chayre Pnina, right? Ki Samachti B'Shua Secha. Ein Kodesh Kashem Ki Ein Biltecha Vein Tzur Kelekenu. The Gemara says Ein Tzayer Kelekenu Shet Tzor Tzura B'Toich Tzura, right? The bunch of them creates one. Does what they do today? They have these three-dimensional printers. They can print one thing inside another thing, right? But maybe she does that without a three-dimensional printer. Into Al Tarbu Tadabru Gavoya Gavoya. Don't be a big shot. Now, here comes the theme. Keshes Giborim Chatim. The Giborim become broken. V'nechsholim, and those that fall, Ozruchoil gets strength. Sveyim Balechem Niskaru. Those that are full by eating a lot of bread end up looking for jobs. Niskaru. Ureivim Chodelu, and the poor people and the hungry people are not hungry anymore. Ad Akara Yolda Shiva. Then she's talking about herself, and brought down later that Shtag had more children. That's Chana. The Rabbis Banim Lola, and it's brought down Taka that the Einish for Penina was never Leilenu, that she lost children. And that was the Rabbis Banim. And I don't think she meant it over here as a klala to her chas v'shalom. It's just that this is what happened as a result. Hashem meimis umachaya, and this is one of the rayas that the Gemara said Hedron that tkiyas amesim in Torah, right? This was meimis umachaya, but the truth is we have it in Hazinu also. Ani omis v'achaya, right? So that again that to death and life is after death. Moirid Shaul by Yoel brings up from Shaul also. Hashem Moirish makes poor, Umashir makes rich. Mashbil makes small, Afim Raiman makes big. Make him may offer dull from the poor person that's in the offer gets brought up. May Ashwais from the garbage Yoram Evion, he picks up the poor person. The Hoishiv Ibn Divim, he sits with the noble people. The Chisei Chaved Yanchilem, and they sit in a coveted place. Hashem Mitzuke Eretz, even the lowest place of the earth, Vayosha Salem Tevel, and he puts him, and he created on it. Tevel means the civilized world. The civilized world, but it's the cities of people living, and it goes on top of the Eretz. And notice a lot of these psukim are very familiar to us from different places, from Tilim. Because don't forget, this is before David HaMelech. So the Shiras Chana was a precursor to the Sefer Tilim in a sense. Hashem Yechatu Merivov, those that skip Pasuk Tes. Ragli Chasidov Yishmar. He guards the ways that he goes. He fears him the right way, the right derech. When they end up in the dark and they don't know where they're going, a person's koyach is not what makes him strong. That essentially, this thing is very, very clear over it. That the Rebbe runs the world. The Rebbe is the world. You shouldn't be a big shot. Small people become big, and big people become small. Hashem Yechatu Merivav. He makes those that are against him fearful. Ola B'Shemayim Yareim Hashem, and on top of them, those that go up to the sky that make their big shots, like it says by the Edom in the Nuvos Vadia in Ben Kocham Simki Nechem Shomer Ridcha Hashem. They're just going to throw them down from the highest places. Hashem Yodn Afseyars, and Hashem judges the edges of the world, and nobody gets away from his judgment. Everybody, the Yesh Din v'Yesh Dayan. V'Yitein Oiz L'Malka, he gives strength to his king. Now, this is very, very interesting. Here you see, in fact, the Gemara in Megillah says that Chana was one of the Nevi'as that the Bnei Yisrael had, and here you see Mamash Nevi'as, because at the time when she said this Nevi'as, the Shmuel was a baby. There was never a king yet to be Yisrael. I mean, it didn't have kingship, didn't have the concept of of a king. Exactly, the end of Shoftim. Exactly, very, very good. That's the end of how Sefer Shoftim ends. B'yitain oislam alkai, b'yorim keren Mashiachai, and the keren of his Mashiachai. What does Mashiachai mean?
Anointed one.
Anointed one. Until then, the only Mashiach that we know of was the Kohen Mashiach. The Kohen Mashiach that they have to that a melech is supposed to be Meshuach also b'Shemen. This is the first place where we ever have it, and this concept that everybody talks about Mashiach coming, Mashiach, and it's all means a melech that's Meshuach b'Shemen. Okay, but it's an unusual. It's also the Gemara says that al tiku b'Mashiachoi goes on little children, because they used to take little children so they shouldn't get rashes. They used to take oil and used to wipe them with oil, as a sicha with oil, and then they used to. This was they do today also, but with Vaseline they do everything. But they used to use oil, so that also goes on children. That's but over here it doesn't mean. Here it means a king. Now, it's interesting also that Sefer Shmuel ends all the way in the end with the mizmor that David HaMelech said. It's like we have in Kapitel Yudches also, which ends with the words Megdal Yeshuis Malkoi Voisech Esel L'Mshichoi the David Ulzarai Adoilam. So then it sort of repeats these words Malkoi and Mashichoi, right? Maybe just Malkoi versus Mashichoi, but it ends with the words the David Ulzarai Adoilam, that it should go on David Ulzarai.
You have to put it in two places.
It's in Tillim and it's in the end of Shmuel. Yeah, and those that say Tillim often have trouble with this Haftarah Parshas Azinu, because every second word is a different word, and you keep tripping over your words, right? So it's because that one is in fact that's the difference in Magdal and Migdal. That Migdal.
The famous word from he said that Beis, She, and Beis is not the. You say Shabbos, you say Migdal. Why? You can't just Shabbos. The Egetana, that's a mistake in the Migdal and Magdal.
Right, but it means two different things, no?
No, but he says the reason it's a change
Similar.
is a mistake.
Migdal is a noun and Magdal is a verb. Yeah.
Because a printer had written, there's two guesses. One is in Shmuel Beis, right? So in parentheses they wrote Beis, She, and Beis is Migdal. And people thought that it means B'Shabbos, you say Migdal.
The Rabbi Shabbos says that.
It's not true. Why? You know why is it not true? Because this whole concept of having Shmuel Aleph and Shmuel Beis comes from the Christians. It was too long for them to print everything.
The whole Prukim
and also.
Yeah.
But there was only Sefer Shmuel, that's all they had.
Right.
The printers, the Goyish printers.
The story, someone gets a tour
divided
and
into
and the tour guide shows him, he says, this is Keva Shmuel. The next day he takes his notes and says, this is Keva Shmuel. He said, this is Shmuel Aleph, this is Shmuel Beis.
Shua Sofnas Panech, somebody asked him why you say this on Shabbos. He says there's a Konach Chazal not to learn Ksuvim on Shabbos. So Tillim is in Ksuvim, that's why Shmuel, that's why
no other psikim from...
No, the same, what do you mean? The same pasuk, a different version of the pasuk. One is from Ksuvim,
There are no other psikim from Ksuvim in the davening anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, first of all, there are a lot of different precise of the Rachmans and everything.
Let me ask you a riddle right now. Which pasuk in Psukei de Zimra is Sefer Mishli? You said it today. All you said it this pasuk today. This is a tough one. But you said, everyone you said this pasuk today. I'll tell you the pasuk. Rabbi's machshavos belevish v'atzas Hashem yisakum. Says in Mishnah. Usually the everything in Psukei de Zimra is Tillim, right? Or of course the Shira, etc. or Nehemiah.
There's a siddur here that has everything weird.
So you can check it. See, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, Vayelech Elkanah haramasa al beisai. Here they left. You have to. I don't know how painful this is. Imagine this Hannah. She waited on Oskitzidet, and she waited so many years to finally have this baby, and the baby's 2 years old, and she has to leave him. A 2-year-old child, and because she made a promise, she kept her promise. You can imagine the difficulties. I mean, she could have, maybe she should have gone shoyl to be on the nether. She didn't. She had the nether, and she let the child in the Mishkan in Mishkan Shiloi with Eli HaKohen. Vayelech HaKohen haramasa al beisai banar hayim mishoret es Hashem es pnei Eli HaKohen. Uvnei Eli bnei Blial. Now the Torah is going to a very interesting thing. It's telling us who the bnei Eli were. They were not nice people. Okay. Uvnei Eli bnei Blial. Blial is lashon bli oil, without a yoke, without a. They're Efkerim. This is a problem that you have sometimes, where people that grew up with privilege, the son of a Kohen Gadol and everything, he has all the chivs in the world, and Sikimner, I deserve it, and a lot of times they go off the derech, they start not feeling like the fathers.
Kid will hear what you said now.
Was?
You won't be able to step into any shul in Baruch.
Yeah, the Rabbi Shekhin. I want you to know, some Rabbi Shekhin are very good. There's no. Was? They have to open up, so yes, it's true. So Bnei Eli, Bnei Blial, Lo Yadu Es Hashem. Yadu Es Hashem means that he didn't. I like the Eibishter. Yediyas, it means the union of a Hava.
Practice it. Sounds like they practiced. Sounds like they did practice.
They did practice?
They were. They were Kahanim.
They were Kahanim, but they were Blial. They were just doing the function.
Knowledge.
They didn't know how to.
In other words, so they got Omach Hashemayim.
Yeah, they didn't know the Shemaim. They were corrupt. They were mamish. That's the word, corrupt. They were corrupt.
Targums v'yadin lemidchal kudam
They
Hashem.
didn't have fear of Hashem. Yeah. Umishpat haKohanim esam. Now this is what they did. Kol ish sever zevach. A person came and brought a korban shlamim. Ubon nar kohen. Either this goes on Chafni and Pinchas themselves, or goes on one of their children. It's not clear. Yovon nar kohen kivashel habasar, while the meat is cooking. Okay, they're marking the korbanos, and they gave the kohen the chaz of a shayt, which they had to do anyway. And these kohanim were not happy with this. They wanted more. So it was v'amaslek shlosh hashinayim b'yadoi, and he had a pitchfork, like a big fork with three sharp ends coming out of it. Tines, that's the word. Tines, 3 tines coming out of it, and they used to stick in and turn around. By the way, we have today when we eat with a fork, right? I mean, those not everybody, but you eat with a fork. A small fork for eating is an invention of only about 500-600 years ago. In the old times, they didn't know from it. In the time of Chazal, people ate with their hands.
Sure.
And that's why you have Mayim Achronim. That's why you have Mayim Achronim. But later people became very fancy and they started mess with agupel. By many Rebbes, the Indian to eat fish is with the hand, right? In Rishon, they used to eat dafka mit agupel, mit agupel. One time, the Shatner Rebbe came and visited the Iron of Bells, and he wanted to give him shrine. How do you work with a shrine? So he took like this. The Rebbe took the shrine with his hands, the belzer, and put it in a gupel and gave it to the Shatner with a gupel. This way it was the yoitza everything. Anyway, I began saying over here that the Kohen, either the Nach or Chafni Pinchas, went around with this big fork with the three tines, right? The hikobakiyar. Here's describing a whole bunch of kalim that was used for cooking meat. Kiyar, we know from the Torah what it means. It's a big pot. Oiba dud, also kind of a pot. Oiba kalachas, a different type of a pot. Oiba bapor, bishul bapor you have by the man also. That's where you make soup, like a soup bowl. All these different types of things. Wherever there was meat cooking over there, kol hashiyala hamazlek, he went around to give azetz with the mazlek, and he said, "Oh, this I want for myself." Yikach hakoyin boy, the kohen took it. Kocha yasul l'chol Yisrael haboyim sham b'shiloi. They did it to everybody. They didn't discriminate. Everybody was. I don't know how you could eat so much meat, but apparently I can imagine what they looked like. These they were, they were not on a diet, and they did not have Diet Coke either. Then, right? So because people think when you drink Diet Coke you lose weight. You ever notice the people? The whole anyway. Gam. Now here comes the next pasuk is even worse. This is a serious pasuk. Listen to this. Gam beterem yaktir nesachelev uba nar akoyin. You have to. This is the way you do it. You shech the carbon. You spritz the blood on the mizbeach, right? You skin it. You take it apart. You take the chel. You put it on the mizbeach. And after you put the chel on the mizbeach, then you take out the meat for yourself, and then you eat. You give the kohen chaz of shayke. That's the normal way of doing karban shlama. But over here, these kohanim couldn't even wait. Besides, they couldn't wait for things to be cooked. Sometimes they just right away. As soon as they skin the animal, and before they even put the chelev on the mizbeach, the kohen wants to make a barbecue, a grill. Give me the raw meat, so he make the grill. He didn't even wait till it should be cooked. Ad kedei kach. I'm not even interested in basar anymore. Give it to me when it's still raw. Ad kedei kach.
They didn't like the seasoning these Adam were using.
They didn't like the cooked meat. They wanted to have sli eish.
They're scared of somebody will take it.
Look, I tell you, people in the summertime over here by us, the Indian to have a barbecue is supposed to be a delicacy. It's more than just cooking the meat in a pot. It's supposed to be a choshev azach. So there's even if I'm mistaken. I remember when I learned Yeridea, there's a parish of Arishan called Basar Aloesh, something like that. Sli Aloesh, that it's supposed to be very choshev, very, very, very tasty. That's how it is this. And the person would protest. They would say, "Kate yaktirim kayoy machelev." First, let me first put the chelev on mizbeach. Take whatever you want, but let me first do the right thing. First, you have to put the chelev on mizbeach. The Omer like, no, right now, titain. If you're not going to give me, I'm going to take it by force. Kind of brilliant these Chafni Pinchas were terrible. But he chatas hanorim gedolim oid. Es bnei Hashem ki niyatzu anashim es minchas Hashem, because there were the Menayats. The mincha is also we find by Yovei Kain mincha Hashem. Any kind of a carbon you bring is called a mincha. Shmuel Mishoris es bnei Hashem, and the whole time he's going back to Shmuel. Shmuel is busy being Mishoris bnei Hashem. Nar choger ephod bud. He was dressed with an ephod. It seems this ephod is an interesting thing, but not exactly sure what it is. Some sort of, it looks sort of like an apron, sort of like an apron, and you see by David HaMelech, when he was dancing in front of the Aron, when they brought it back from the Plishtim, he also wore a chager ephod bud. It seems that it was a very choshev type of a dress that they wore for Kohanim had it, and Melech had it. Il katan tasela imay, and his mother would make for him a small. A me'il is like we see by the kohen. It's a kind of a beged that goes from the shoulders all the way down, right? And she would make a me'il that was his size.
How old was he, or where?
It doesn't say clearly, but look at the end of this pasuk. B'halosa loy miyamim yamima. B'haloy says ishol is boyach ezevachayam. She would see her child once a year. She'd visit him, visitation once a year, and she'd bring along. She figured he would grow in size, so she made him every year a little bit bigger one, a bigger size, exactly. She would bring him year after year a bigger size me'il to be able to wear it.
Mishuna l'shuna, that was it. Once a year, yeah. Rashi was like Mishuna l'shuna, once a year.
From year to year, exactly. Yeah. Year to year, she'll bring it. So we see two things. He was wearing an ephod and he was wearing a me'il, right? And he was a Levi. He wasn't a kind. This is a special kind of a special. Those are his clothes that he wore. Now he would come up year after year. Beirach Eli es Elkanah ves Ishtay. Eli gave a bracha to Elkanah and his wife, and Ishtay here clearly means Chana. The Omar Yoseng Hashem l'chos zera min ha'isha hazois Tachas Hashe'ela Asher Shoal El Hashem, and Abba should give you children from this woman, besides the one. Don't forget, you gave yours away to Hashem. So instead of this, you should have other children. V'holchulim Kaimai, and they went back to Rama. That's Elkanah and Chana went back to Rama. Ki fokat Hashem es Chana v'tahar v'teled shloisha banim v'shtei banim. She still had 3 more children and two daughters. V'yigdal hanar Shmuel im Hashem. But the Nar Shmuel stayed and grew up with Hashem, meaning in Shiloh.
It's interesting that Pnina is not mentioned anymore.
No.
It will come up year by year after Eli is already in the Mishnah.
It's a very good point.
After Shmuel is
It says Ishtoi, right? It doesn't talk about Pinion anymore.
in the beginning, Pnina is mentioned.
It's an interesting point.
He gave Pnina to Mona and Chana Mona to Sapayim. But after that,
Mentioned her where was Israel. No?
what is that?
Maybe it was when it was negate to the story. It mentioned.
Yeah, it could be because just negate to the story.
It
But
could be she was meant for children once she had children.
wasn't she? Oh, they dropped her. Interesting point. The Eli Zoken Mioid. Okay, saying that Eli got old. The Shoma Eis Ein Kolan Sheyasun Bonav L'Chol Yisrael, and he heard what he did, that they were taking away the korbanos. And here comes something that sounds even worse. Veis Anshe Yishkavun Es Hanoshim Hatsoivois Pesach Oil Mayv.
Made them wait overnight for kabunas.
Okay, well, so Chazal say it's not pashut. It means that they were in the zana with the noshim. They made him wait. They took the time. They brought the kinei yaldis and made him take the time. We have time with this, and with that, they kept them from being with their husbands.
The Bnei
The Bnei. Why? Because a woman, when she gives birth, she has to bring the kinei yaldis. She has to bring a carbon. So ladies used to come and to bring the korbanos. And they took their time. You have time. It's we'll wait. And that you're not allowed to do. But and Rabbanim that Paskin Shalas have to do with Hilchas Nida. Sometimes they do everything in the world. That they shouldn't have to go to mikveh one day later. Everything try to make as soon as possible because it's a very big problem in Ma'akev. So that's why it's called Anshe Yishkum Sanashim. Now. This is interesting because there's a Gemara that says that how do you know it's Yishkivun? Because it says Yashkivun, that with a Yud, and there's a Yerushalmi that says that. We don't have it in our gear saying Yishkivun. You say Yashkivun. And there's also another very interesting thing. Watch this thing. What does it sound like? Hanoshim Hatsoivos Pesach Oil Moed. Where else do we have this? So first of all, Tzoy is interesting. Here again, Tzovois, again playing these words. Tzova and Tzovois we had before. And that not with the base. This is the Tzoy. It comes like a Tzova, like come an army. They come in groups, right? Hashem Tzovois, right? This is we're introduced to this word, and here this word means something else altogether. It means that they gathered. They gathered Pesach Oil Moed. You know where else we have this? In Parshas Vayakel. Vayas Akir Nechoshes, V'chana Nechoshes, V'mares Hatzoivos, listen to this, Asher Tzovu, Pesach, Oil, Moed. Fascinating. Why is it fascinating? Because the word Oil Moed. The word Oil Moed we don't find anywhere. It's said, last time we find it is in Sefer Yeshua, that Vayakem Yeshua as Oil Moed B'Shiloi. That's it. Okay? Later on, we find by David when he brought the Aaron to Yerushalayim from the Philistine, it says Vayakim Boyes Oil Mayed. They brought the oil mayed. They brought it over there. Otherwise, the word oil mayed is not in the Torah. It's all over the place. Oil mayed, oil mayed, oil mayed. It's very unusual. It's clearly. There's a parallel to what it says in the Torah. Noshmat Soivos Pesach Oil Mayed. The Balaturim on this pasuk in Vayakel, as Noshmat Soves and Shetzovu Pesach Oil Mayit, brings down this pasuk over here, and he says that this is the raya that there's a very famous medrash that Rashi brings down also, that what was the big mila of the mirrors that that the Nashim brought, that they was so chashed they made the cure from it. When the Yidden were in Mitzrayim, the Nashim used to have mirrors, and the mirrors, they made themselves very beautiful. And the men, when they came home from work, they were too tired to be mistakik to him, but they made themselves very nice so that to be able to bring in more doyers. And that was very, very chashuv by the Eibshter. From that, he wanted to make the kir and the chashuv and the chantu nashim. So the Baal Turm says, how do we know that this is true? Because it's a Gzeir Shabbat. Over there it says, here it says Asher Yishkevun, which means Poshet Tashmish. So it says Asher Yishkevun Pesach Oil Moed. So he wants to make this connection. It's interesting also that there's a kasha. There's a very big kasha back in Vayakel. It says Pesach Oil Moed, right? Where does it say this? It says in Parshas Vayakel, right? What happened? When did this happen? When you were building the Mishkan. So what should Sovu Pesach Oil Moed? There's no Oil Moed. Listen to this carefully. Listen to this kasha. It says Vayasas Kir Nechoshes, Veskane Nechoshes, Bemaris Hatzoivos, Asher Sovu Pesach Oil Moed. There's no Oil Moed. The Oil Moed was Vayasas Oil Moed. They made it in the beginning of Nisan, right? So the Teretz is the Ramban is kasha. The Ramban is kasha. The Ramban answers that if you look at, it's very interesting. Look in Parshas Kisisa, it says over there that by the made the egel. So what did Moshe do? Vayites olay michutz lamachne vayikrolay oil moed. That he called, in other words, the oil of Moshe Rabbeinu, that became the oil moed. So we see that Nashim Rashid Savu Pesach oil moed, that they came to the oil of Moshe Rabbeinu. This explains another interesting Gemara. The Gemara says by when Moshe came down with the Koran or Pondav, it says Vihi bitu achrei Moshe. So Gemara says a Peltic is said Choshtu loy be'eshesish. Remember the Gemara? It's Gemara that there were Choshad Moshe and Eshes. Why were they Choshad Moshe and Eshes? This is for emphasis because they came to Moshe's oil with the Maratz Soibos. The Maratz Soibos said so they came to the Moshe's oil. What are you doing Moshe's oil? So Choshtu be'eshesish. So that's for emphasis. That for emphasis all the Gemaras all at once. But and here's in other words, the word Pesach oil moed, the word that we find before. This also adds up. This also adds to the number of names that Mishkan was called the Mishkan Shilai. It was called Oihel. It was called the Beis Hashem. Right? All these different names for Mishkan Shilai. And here we have another name for it. It's called the Oil Moed also. It's still called Oil Moed because it's still an oil. Chicken Badam, right? And we're going to see later that it has another name. That the name is Mo'in. It was called Mo'in. It had many, many different names, Mishan Shilai.
Mo'in Kachi.
Mo'in Nati Solano. Where is the pasuk over here? Hashkifu Mo'in Kachcha, right?
The only
exactly.
place where Hashkifu doesn't have a bad connotation. Usually Hashkifu is for punishing. Hashkifu Mo'in Kachcha is...
Let me just finish up here to this.
Yes.
So Eli told his sons, "What are you doing? I hear terrible rumors. No, don't do that. You're going against Hashem.
Am Hashem.
What?
Am Hashem.
Mavir Am Hashem, right? Im yechto ish leish ufiloi elikim im Hashem yechto ish mispaleloi. This is a very interesting play on words. Piluloi elikim kanshiyash and yarshiyun Elohim. Look, Elohim and Hashem, right, and right next to each other, because the first Elohim is not kodesh. This means a bezin. If the person has a dispute with another person, he has a bezin. He has to be Elohim. The im lashem yartish. Who's going to make the negotiations? Again, this word you see the word yispal and tefillah mean so many different things in this, and just in these two prokim. It's fascinating. It's all the plays on words. Plays on words. I just want to stop and just say one very quick thing. It's a very interesting in Pasuk Chav Dalet. It says mavirim im Hashem. So the Gemara there's a Gemara in Bameh Behema in Shabbos that says mavirim. It says maviram ksiv without a yud, and because it goes that only Chofni was chayte and not Pinchas. The Gemara said like that. So the Gemara says the word is mavirim. So the Gemara says no, it's maviram ktziv without a yud. Comes along Rabbi Kiva Eger, the biggest Rabbi Kiva Eger in all of Shas. I think it's Daf Nun Gimel in Shabbos. Huge Rabbi Kiva Eger. He brings down every single place in Gans Shas where the Gemara brings down a pasuk, not the way it's in our Messiah, and it's all based on this word mavirim and maviram. But there's a lot of other places too, like we have where it's Ve'esikon She'at Eschem, and it says V'yoyim Kalois Moshe with a vav, without a vav. There's a few places like this, but the Rabbi Kiva Eger has this huge list, and it's the biggest Rabbi Kiva Eger in all of Shas, and it's all based on maviram. If you have a chance, take out a Gemara Shabbos and look it up. You can have a lot of an from it.
This is very interesting.
What? Exactly. What does it sound like?
Like para.
Exactly. They actually play para. No, the Gezerah went out there. It's very interesting the way the Rebbeinu Shalom runs the world. In other words, you give them a chance for tshuva, but it could be cholil a matziv where you're not allowed to do tshuva anymore. And that's it's scary. It's scary. No, it's Maybe should help. We should have this. Okay, we continue.
The whole time